Spiritual obsession is a phenomenon deeply analyzed in spiritual literature, describing how spiritual entities can negatively influence people's lives. This type of obsession involves control or manipulation exerted by disembodied spirits over incarnated individuals. It occurs when a spirit, driven by malicious or unbalanced intentions, influences a person's emotions, thoughts, and actions, often without the person being fully aware of the interference. This influence can be direct, with the spirit entering into resonance with the victim, or indirect, when the spirit acts through another person or through external situations. This phenomenon goes beyond acts of revenge or consequences of past actions. It involves the spirit's desire to exploit the victim's vulnerabilities, vices, and lower desires. It is, therefore, a manifestation of the laws of cause and effect, where the individual's negative tendencies attract energies that end up feeding these weaknesses. Obsession establishes itself when a person creates a hypnotic point, that is, a psychic vulnerability that allows entry for obsessive spirits. This point is not necessarily an obvious flaw but rather an area of the mind or spirit where the person is open to suggestion and manipulation. This predisposition can arise from unresolved desires, vices, or emotional weaknesses, such as pride, vanity, anger, or insecurity. As these emotions dominate the person, they lose their ability to discern, thus facilitating the action of the obsessors. The hypnotic point creates an energetic frequency that attracts spirits in harmony with that weakness or vice. This results in a mutual attraction between the unresolved desire of the person and the spirit's energy. The spirit takes advantage of this opening and begins to manipulate the victim's thoughts and emotions, creating a cycle in which the obsessed feels increasingly consumed by the obsession, while the obsessor exploits their weaknesses. The obsessor's influence is subtle but persistent, affecting the minds and emotions of their victims. More than seeking revenge, these spirits exploit the individual's weaknesses, keeping them under control. They possess keen knowledge of human flaws, such as selfishness, envy, and pride. By manipulating these vices, they exert greater influence over the victim, who ends up acting against their own interests and principles. A practical example of this influence can occur when an obsessive spirit amplifies insecurity in a vain person, leading them to make impulsive decisions in search of approval. In another case, a proud person may be induced to reject help and act selfishly, compromising their relationships and well-being. This type of emotional manipulation can be so intense that the person feels confused, unable to differentiate their own thoughts from those suggested by the obsessors. This causes a state of mental and emotional confusion, distancing the individual from constructive actions. Obsession can manifest in psychological disturbances, such as depression, anxiety, and even self-destructive behaviors. Historically, spiritual obsession is associated with figures like Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler, who were influenced by unbridled desires for power and control. These leaders not only followed their own destructive inclinations, but were also under the influence of obsessive spirits who shared their destructive ambitions. These spirits act as mentors, guiding individuals strategically toward their own goals. Hitler, for instance, illustrates how spiritual obsession can trigger tragic events and turn someone into an instrument of greater evil. Defense against obsession includes spiritual vigilance and self-knowledge. Practicing self-analysis and purifying the mind and spirit are fundamental to avoid these influences. It is important to work on the weaknesses and vices that make hypnotic points vulnerable and seek understanding of the laws of cause and effect. Furthermore, cultivating virtues such as humility, love for others, and charity helps to strengthen the soul and repel negative influences. Practices like prayer and meditation also help establish a connection with positive spiritual forces, creating an energetic shield. In conclusion, spiritual obsession can be seen as an opportunity for growth. The person has the chance to overcome their weaknesses, reverse the obsessive process, and seek inner transformation. Thus, spiritual obsession is a complex phenomenon that involves both the influence of disembodied spirits and the internal weaknesses of the victim, requiring continuous self-knowledge and spiritual vigilance to overcome it. Did you like the content? Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. This helps us continue to bring you more videos and information. Share with friends and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Let's learn and grow together.